And welcome, everybody. It's the Neal Boortz Show, now adopting the persona of the President of the United States, who had a press conference today. And I am going to step into his shoes. Royal has recorded the questions for the President. I have never heard them before, never heard them. I am now going to respond to them in a manner that will convince you once and for all that I am certainly not material for elective office. And it's okay. The first question, Mr. Marshall.
Mr. President, dozens of American troops have been killed this month, and sectarian violence appears to be rising again in Iraq. And you yourself just said that you're expecting more casualties in the weeks and months ahead. How much longer do you believe you can sustain your current policy in Iraq without significant progress on the ground, and how confident are you about finding those missing soldiers?
Well, the question you really need to ask of the Democrats, because it is the Democrats who are determined that we are to fail in Iraq. So why don't you ask the Democrats that question? Why don't you ask John Edwards or Hillary Rodham or Ted Kennedy? Why don't you ask them, how far are you willing to go to make sure that there is no good news from Iraq? How far are you willing to go to make sure that we have to leave Iraq to the insurgents before success is achieved? How far am I willing to go? I am willing to go as far as necessary in order to achieve our objectives. But we're fighting two enemies. We're fighting the enemy here at home that has been dedicated to my destruction since January of 2000, and we're fighting the enemy over there that's dedicated to the destruction of Western civilization. You're asking the wrong person. Ask John Murtha. Ask Nancy Pelosi. Ask Harry Reid. Next question, please.
A lot of lawmakers in Congress are saying that China has not done enough to allow its currency to appreciate, and they're talking about things like duties. What is your view about that, and are you prepared to do more to encourage the appreciation of the yuan?
Thanks, Ed.
Years ago, we were worried about the Japanese economy, and that the Japanese economy was going to overtake the United States, overpower us, that the Japanese economy was going to own the world. Take a good close look at the Chinese economy right now. They still have billions of people over there that are living in poverty, that aren't sharing in the Chinese economic miracle. Sooner or later, these people are going to have to be addressed. The economy of China will take care of itself without us having to worry too much about changing our policy to meet their economic growth.
The Senate report this morning contends that your administration was warned before the war that by invading Iraq, you would actually give Iran and al-Qaeda a golden opportunity to expand their influence, the kind of influence you were talking about with al-Qaeda yesterday and with Iran this morning. Why did you ignore those warnings, sir?
You see, now this is what's amazing to me. You just asked me, first of all, your question was premised on the idea that I ignored those warnings, an idea that has not been established. But you ask me today why I ignored the warnings of our intelligence community that a war in Iraq was going to draw more insurgents into the fire. On the other hand, it was that same intelligence community that warned me about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. It was that same intelligence community that warned me about Saddam Hussein's nuclear ambitions. You see what's going on here? When I pay attention to the warnings of this intelligence community, you get up here and ask me, why did you pay any attention to those warnings, Mr. President? And then, when you think I ignored those questions, the warning is, why did you ignore those warnings, Mr. President? That's the same intelligence community that told me about the weapons of mass destruction. On the one hand, you want me to ignore them. On the other hand, you castigate me for not ignoring them. When you make up your mind, I'll know how to act in order to please you. Next question, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. You say you want nothing short of victory, that leaving Iraq would be catastrophic. You once again mentioned al-Qaeda. does that mean that you are willing to leave American troops there no matter what the Iraqi government does? I know this is a question we've asked before, but you can begin it with a yes or no.
The American troops aren't there so much to protect the Iraqi government as they are to fight Islamic fascism. I am not going to sacrifice the future or the safety of this country to Islamic fascism because of what the Iraqi government does or does not do. If the Iraqi government fails to step up and accomplish certain objectives in Iraq, then sanctions and appropriate actions can be taken against the Iraqi government. But as long as Islamic fascism presents a threat to the people of the United States and to our way of life and to our economy and to our culture, I, as Commander-in-Chief, will put our troops into the fight against them. Now, in a couple of years, if the people of this country want to put peace at any price Democrats in charge of the administration and the Congress, then they, under our system, are going to be perfectly free to do so. And then they can sit back and watch and suffer the consequences. Next question.